Well, let's bring in global affairs analyst Patrick Henningsen, founder of 21st Century Wire. Mr. Henningsen, thank you for joining us on the programme. So the report says there was no collusion, but leading Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, namely, have released a joint statement saying the report summary raises as many questions as it answers. What do you think they mean by that?
What I think they mean is that they want to carry this charade on for as long as possible, ideally right through the 2020 election cycle, and try to use it. What they've been using it for in the last 2 years is to discredit the president, Donald Trump, who was elected by the American people in a fair and free election in 2016. And so I don't think there's any chance that there's going to be anything new unearthed. In fact, if there was any compelling evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, it actually would have been on the table and into the press before the November election in 2016 in order to maximize its benefit.
Donald Trump Jr. has released a statement on the report saying collusion truthers must be held to account for their, quote, sick and twisted conspiracy theories. Do you think we're going to expect some retaliation from the Trump administration?
I think what this president is going to do now is to take this result, or lack of a result, and just use it as a stick to perpetually beat the opposition with right through the 2020 election cycle. So the Democrats, rather than have a stick to beat the president with during the general election in 2020, the tables are now turned. Now the White House has the stick, and it will not relent. They won't let the press live it down. This will allow the president to fuel his attacks on the press and kind of vindicates his accusations of fake news by CNN and others and the establishment, the media establishment. So it's actually going to work in his favor, and it disarms. This was a huge weapon that the Democrats would have been able to wield going into the 2020 election. So, and not only that, when this domino falls, now what's next? Next is the DNC hack, which a lot of people believe, and some have proven that is actually a DNC leak, and so forth. So the whole Russiagate narrative and all the different variations of it are sort of crumbling right now.
So what about the obstruction of justice issue? We have Trump saying the report clears him of that charge, but the report summary doesn't specifically say that. So is he right?
Well, you have to look at it this way. If the whole premise of the investigation was bogus, in other words, the whole charade was kind of a high-tech lynching, a fraud on different levels, because after all, this is an investigation, the Mueller probe that basically was arresting people, or subpoenaing people, bringing in people in search of crimes. And when you actually do a proper lawful investigation, you look for evidence, and then you then go and find the people, and then you bring them in for questioning, and then you determine whether there's a crime. They had already determined whether there's a crime. So to try to accuse Trump of obstructing a probe that was most likely waged on a fraudulent basis, fraudulent FISA warrants that were used or put in place after stitching up George Papadopoulos through this other dodgy part of the story that hasn't actually fully been unearthed yet. Okay, that's like basically accusing somebody of resisting a false arrest. So the original investigation, the premise of it is very weak and beyond dubious. And then to say that Trump was obstructing that would be like saying someone is resisting false arrest. So it just doesn't really stack up to common sense.
What are your thoughts on the media's role in all this? So much time, so much money has been spent on this story, and so many allegations have turned out to be untrue. So do you think the media themselves have questions to answer?
Yeah, this is basically a deja vu moment for the journalistic class. They had sort of perpetuate the same failure during the 2016 election cycle. In other words, they all reported that Hillary Clinton was going to win by a landslide and sort of dialed down a lot of the real polling numbers, misreported, inflated, exaggerated, omitted. And all of these things led and helped to actually get Donald Trump the surprise victory that he won in November 2016. And so here they are. They doubled down on that bad practice in 2016, and this is what you get. So in a way, this result is much worse than the election itself because they didn't learn their lesson originally. So they've framed the president, they've framed his staff, cabinet appointees, associates, even his supporters of being Russian agents. Basically, it's the most ludicrous. This is the biggest political hoax in the history of the United States. History will remember it exactly like that. 2.5 years of a complete fabricated political hoax that was waged on for a number of reasons. And I'm not saying this is simple at all. It's a very complex case. Information's been laundered. We're not even getting to talk about the Steele dossier and all of the people who were involved in laundering that document, which was used to discredit and sort of knock the president down 20 or 30 opinion poll points even before he was inaugurated in January 2017. So there's a lot of aspects to this that haven't actually been cleared up yet. And I think there's a chance that they might start investigating that side of things. And if they do, this could trigger a political civil war during the 2020 elections.
And of course, all the money that was spent as well, around $25 million of taxpayers' money was spent on that investigation. Can it be justified?
Yeah, the money is just a small part of it, the 25 million on paper. In reality, a tremendous amount of political capital has been expended. Not only that, the value of the media coverage that was dedicated to what is essentially a fraudulent investigation, that if truth be known, if they did an internal audit of some of the practices of this, you're talking about perversion of justice with the FBI and the Department of Justice. So these are two essential agencies that the public depend on for due process and conducting things fairly and properly. The media has expended all of this airtime, billions and billions of dollars worth of airtime that could have been spent on real issues, real public issues, things that are important for America. And that didn't happen. Instead, you have them chasing a phantom menace for 2.5 years with nothing to show other than bad will and more political division as a result.
Global Affairs analyst Patrick Henningsen and founder of 21st Century Wire, thank you for your time.
Thank you.